Hey, welcome back to the Tom and Ed Show. Not the podcast anymore. We're the Tom and Ed Show because
Tom and Ed
it's not really a
Show.
podcast, and I guess there already is a Tom and Ed podcast. So,
Yeah,
welcome back. How you doing, Tommy?
I'm doing pretty well. How about yourself?
Yeah, pretty good.
What have you got
Today
for
we're going to be
Christmas week,
talking
huh?
about James Bond, the
No.
James Bond franchise, and it was suggested to us by Troy Alexander 8228. He's a
Okay.
frequent commenter and he's a supporter of the channel. So, thanks a lot for the suggestion, Troy.
I appreciated his comment too, saying that we were like knowledgeable about comic books. Meanwhile, we were just talking about like things that we got huge knowledge gaps in that,
Yeah, I know. And like there was stuff I thought about afterwards that I figured we should have mentioned, but oh
Oh,
well.
so many things that I could have mentioned about, like the Carnage villain, and I could have went into it about like Spider-Man and how I appreciate his clones, that Kane,
Yeah,
Ben Riley, and I kind of like them more of characters than the regular kind of Peter Parker. But either way,
yeah,
that's beside the point. Uh, yeah, I appreciate all the comments and the interaction. So
yeah.
this time we'll do James Bond. Uh,
Right. Now, how do you
I
feel about
think
James Bond? Or how do you think about the franchise? What are your feelings on it?
I feel like James Bond is almost like another comic book character. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? Like he
yeah,
really
I get
is.
that. Yeah,
He
he's like
he
kind of in
has
his own
like
world.
he has his own theme. Like and the world kind of goes according to the rules of the other novels. Or the other
Right.
stories per se.
Yeah,
You know?
he's kind of like a superhero in a lot of ways.
But I've heard some really interesting theories about who he's based on. The actor who played Saruman from Lord of the Rings. What's his name? Chris. Oh man,
Oh,
I'm just
Christopher Lee.
yeah, Christopher Lee.
Yeah, he
Uh,
was in the James Bond movie.
he was apparently a consultant for Ian McKellen. You
Ian
know,
McKellen,
not Ian McKellen. I'm
Ian Fleming.
Ian. Yeah. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. All right, I got name diarrhea.
Okay, yeah, maybe that's true. Yeah, I mean, he was in a James Bond movie. He played a villain
There
in
was
The
an
Man with the
internet
Golden Gun.
theory about it saying that like he was like a British agent during World War II,
Oh,
and
really? Well, I always heard that it was sort of Ian Fleming's fantasy of his own like war uh experiences. Like that's what he thought of himself as.
well, he was a logistic officer.
Mhm.
Apparently, I guess according to this report, I have no idea. I might just be
Right.
spreading
But he
rumors.
knew somebody who was like a agent or something like that. I don't
Chris,
know. I'm kind of talking out of
Christopher
my
Lee
ass on this,
was
but
he was apparently he was the agent, according to
yeah,
this, and it was all kind of based on stories that he would send back to Ian, you know.
right.
So yeah, it's weird, but it's also kind of like based on a superhero that would do like the right thing given the choice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. He's like a British Captain America a little bit. You
Yeah,
know what I
kind
mean?
of. Captain Britain.
Yeah, Captain
There
Britain.
there already is one, but I guess there's room for one more.
Yeah,
James Bond's
yeah,
cooler anyway.
yeah. So we'll go just jump right into the first movie there. And the actor who played him, Sean Connery, was original James Bond, in the first
Yeah,
film. And the first film was Dr. No in 1962. Uh,
right.
Now, the first novel was Casino Royale, correct?
Right. Yeah, that's right.
So that was kind of like a throwback when they made the Casino Royale movie. It was a little bit of a like going back to James Bond's roots, kind of an attempt.
Yeah, and it was kind of a reboot because
It was a
you
little
see how he
grittier too.
becomes a double O agent, you know?
Yeah, yeah, it was a little grittier, especially with the ball kicking scene. Like
Right.
I wouldn't expect that in a James Bond movie, but
And there
yeah,
was a lot of parkour.
yeah, there was a lot of stunts, and I feel like it was action packed compared to the next one, Quantum of Solace. But we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Doctor No. Now the plot of Doctor No is pretty classic James Bond. You know,
Yeah.
it's got this villain, and he's got this crazy underwater base. All right, this is the first one. It's also the second one. They have underwater bases. It's like a theme, you know.
Yeah,
Like, and I
yeah,
think
they do in Thunderball. They do, right? Yeah,
yeah, and in Roger Moore later on when
that's right.
I'm
In
trying to
The
think of
Spy
the
Who Loved
one,
Me.
Spy
Yeah,
Who Loved Me with that awesome car submarine.
yeah,
I was that I want that. I want that someday.
yeah. That was the
Yeah,
Lotus, right?
I want to drive it around my lake in my backyard. That would be the coolest thing ever. But
Yeah,
yeah, Doctor No underwater base. Uh,
right.
the Doctor No, what was his plan? Because I confuse him and Thunderbolt or yeah,
Yeah, he
Thunderball.
was.
Yeah,
Forget why. It's been a while since I've seen that one, but I do like that one a lot. He was, he had some world domination plan. It turns out that he was like working for Spectre,
did,
right?
did he
That was
steal
part of it.
nukes or something?
I don't know. He had like some kind of, you know, plutonium thing going on, or radiation that he was working with at the end of the movie.
I remember with his
He
goofy
was,
plastic suit. Yeah, that
yeah, he was. I think he had a common James Bond theme is like he was going to reshape the world in his own image. Basically,
yeah,
what he was going to do.
yeah.
And James Bond stops him, and I think that's one of the best Sean Connery Bond movies. I think.
Yeah, I think it was a great introduction to the character, except he does do some kind of like misogynistic things, you
Oh
know,
well, yeah,
like,
that's throughout, especially in the early movies. That's
oh,
that's that's big, and it's just part of the time, and
yeah, it is very dated in that respect, you know,
yeah.
but especially this first one. Like, I feel like the way he treated women in the first one was, you know,
Yeah, well, like the lead actress doesn't even get introduced until there's like 40 minutes left in the movie or something, right? Like she
yeah, and
comes in, she's like on the beach.
she's
Yeah,
very you know, kind of vapid. Like, they don't really give her character much to go on. So I
yeah,
feel
there was
bad
really
for
nothing
you
for her.
know, I felt
She
bad
was
for
just
the
there to
actress
to
kind of
look
watching
good,
it. Yeah,
you know.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, I always feel bad for that actress, but in old Star Trek, I feel the same way. You know, it's like
yeah, me
they
too.
bring along a girl, and it's like they play like this old 20s music or some crap with horns, you know, and it's like,
Yeah,
yeah, all of a sudden you're like, woo wee, you know, like I feel like that.
yeah,
I'm really glad that's not in filmmaking as much, you know, like even though it
yeah.
was
I know what you mean.
funny.
Like the early Bond movies, the lead actress was like almost more of a hindrance than anything else. Like it's
Yeah.
someone that Bond has to worry about and save while
And
he's trying to do all this
their
other stuff.
names were always such a joke too. That's
Yeah,
what reminds me of like they're all like comic book characters in James Bond. Like their
yeah. Do
name.
you remember the girl's name from Doctor No?
No, actually.
It was Honey Rider.
Why?
I don't know.
Either way, tongue in cheek humor. I appreciate.
Yeah, of course. There's even worse ones like than that, like Pussy Galore and
Yeah, you know, that's what I feel like was awesome and kind of amazing about the 60s is that they were able to get away with the sense of humor while still making serious, you know, like dramatic.
yeah. Like I feel like that name would be bleeped now if it was like on TV, but that was like in a PG movie. It's kind of funny.
I'm really hoping we're coming full circle filmmaking wise, and you know they're going to be able to make movies, not with the misogynistic side of it, you know, but movies
Right.
kind of in the tone of these older '60s movies, like the next one,
Yeah.
From Russia with Love. We can move on to that, and that came out the very next year, 1963. You know,
Yeah.
the Mets was still brand new.
Right. Yeah. It's still brand new and still terrible.
Still terrible. They almost set a record for being the worst team ever their first year.
Yeah.
So whatever. There's only one place to go from there on a
Right.
Mets fan standpoint. But From Russia
Exactly.
with Love, that's the one. Sean Connery again. Uh,
Yeah, and I think that to me is my personal favorite, I think.
okay, I'm kind of confusing From Russia with Love because I watched them out of order. I watched Thunderball after Doctor No for some reason,
Oh
and
yeah, that's the fourth one.
yeah, I jumped movies and then I went back to watch Goldfinger and From Russia with Love. You got to remind me the plot of that one.
From Russia with Love.
Yeah.
Yeah, From Russia with Love it's a real like to me, I think it's the best sort of spy Bond movie in a lot of ways. It's got Robert Shaw in it from Jaws. He's like kind of the
Oh,
main
okay.
villain, and he's working for Spectre, and he's basically an assassin. And there's involved this Russian girl who's like been hired to, I guess, kill James Bond, or something along those lines. But she ends up falling in love with him, and
Yeah.
like
Yeah, he wins her over. I think I remember. Yeah.
yeah,
And
and there's a really cool sequence on on a train with Robert Shaw and Sean Connery, and I think it's one of the
okay.
best fight scenes in a Bond movie. It's like a big
Oh yeah.
struggle. Yeah,
Okay. Did he get tossed off the back of the train, or am I thinking of Throw Mama from the Train?
I think he got no, he got stabbed. Bond had his suitcase had a knife in it, like that, like popped out of it, like it was like one of the early gadgets that he had,
Oh
and he like
yeah.
yeah,
That
he
was
was
that
able to
one,
get him with
and
that. I think.
Q demonstrated it back at the.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was great. Q was always one of my favorites. I loved him.
yeah, he was great.
All right, so From Russia with Love, that's one of your favorite. Oh, you were doing a ranking system. So with Doctor No, what rank would that be?
For me, Doctor No's in the top five, right at number five.
Okay. All right. So
Yeah,
Russia with Love, what number is that?
that's number one.
Whoa. All right. So that's your number one favorite Bond movie. Wow. And
Well, I
I
think it's not the one that I
totally
rewatched the
forgot
most, but
about
I
it.
think it has all the things you want in a Bond movie. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like it's a middle ground one, like from what I can remember, because I put the next one in my top favorite, Goldfinger. I feel
Yeah,
like he's got an over the top villain that's got a
yeah.
signature move,
It's got a great henchman too.
played by
With
amazing, amazing acting all around. It was just,
yeah,
I feel like iconic, acting jobs. So
yeah. I have that at number three for me. That's
yeah,
Goldfinger.
that might be my top number one. It's up there. But
Yeah, it is a good
strangely,
one. It's also
I'll
got
get
the
into it in a
Aston
minute.
Martin.
Huh?
Yeah, it's also got the Aston Martin, right? That's the first appearance of it.
Oh, was it?
I
Okay.
think so. Yeah,
Yeah, it probably was because Dr. No, he was driving around a crap.
I forget what he drives in that.
He was
I
driving
don't
around
think he
the
does much
Bahamas in
driving in
that.
it.
Yeah, or yeah. He was driving around the Bahamas in that somewhere.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, unless I'm thinking of Casino Royale. But
maybe. Yeah,
I don't
it's in
know.
that too.
I hit my head when I was watching these movies, so like they're all kind of blended together, like the
Yeah,
thought
it's
just
tough to
like went.
separate them. I had to think about it too. It's been a while since I rewatched them.
Yeah, I mean they're all great, but like I feel like the run of Sean Connery movies in a row in the '60s, even though they're
Yeah,
my favorite movies, they all kind of blend together, in a strange way. Where like
yeah. Well, they were
the
released
next
like
movie, the
every
next
year.
the next one kind of summarizes it. Number four in 1965, Thunderball is
Yeah.
the plot is so cliche of this movie. It's probably my number two or three
See,
because
really, wow. Because we differ a lot on that. I don't like
I thought
Thunderball at all.
I thought it was a hilarious movie. Like
It
I
was,
actually like thought it was more fun because of how campy and ridiculous it was at times.
yeah.
And
To me, I just found it boring. Like, I think the underwater fight scenes are just kind of like
yeah,
boring. It's
the underwater
slow
fight
under.
scenes are boring, but the plot is the guy steals those nukes or whatever, and it kind
Yeah,
of scares the hell out of you to see how easy it is to steal them. You know,
yeah.
and they
At
just
least in the
ditch them
world
at
of
the
James
bottom of
Bond.
the ocean and put like
Yeah,
nets over them or something. Like oh my god, yeah. So that's
yeah,
up there for me. I thought it was hilarious. The plot was
yeah.
ridiculous. It would
It
totally.
also has one of the villains that inspired Austin Powers in it. The guy with the eye patch, right? Like he
Yeah,
was
yeah.
number one or whatever.
And that was the guy that also like he didn't he get fed to the sharks?
He was feeding people to the sharks.
Okay,
But
yeah,
he at
I
the end of the
remember.
movie he gets like he gets knocked off a speeding boat or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, that's up there for me because of how ridiculous it was. I thought it was
Yeah.
crazy, but yeah, these Sean Connery ones kind of do blend together, just mainly because of the time that they were made and how many of them they were pumping them out. They were pumping them out year by year, almost. So
Yeah, pretty much.
Like the next one, where do you have Thunderball rated?
Thunderball is 22 for me.
Way down there. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's
like
way down there.
Thunderball mainly because of the name. I like Thunder and
That was
Balls.
also the
I
most
like Balls.
profitable James Bond movie for a long time. It made the most money
Yeah,
because it followed
that's
Goldfinger,
kind of
like,
surprising.
yeah,
So it just followed it in the movie theater and was successful. Huh. That's
yeah, it
surprising to learn.
was a huge hit.
Yeah, the next one on the list is You Only Live Twice with James Bond. I
This
mean,
is
with
where
Sean
it starts
Connery.
getting crazy, I think, in this
Yeah,
one.
67. So
Yeah,
I can't
that
really
one.
remember the plot of this one. You got to refresh my memory.
Oh well, Donald Pleasance plays Blofeld. He's like I think it's the first time we see Blofeld, and he's the traditional. He's got the cat. He's got the scar. He's Doctor Evil, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Okay. Oh,
he's
that's
sort of,
right. Yeah,
yeah.
I
It's
remember.
also it's a lot of it takes place in Japan. Uh, and in fact, James Bond becomes a Japanese person.
What?
He be, this is
Oh,
why it's
yeah.
weird. It's
He
because
was serving
he like
tables or
marries a
something, right?
Japanese woman, and they put makeup on him to make him look Japanese. I, I,
It's almost as
I don't know
bad
what they
as
were thinking with that
what's
one.
his name? Mickey Rooney in Breakfast at Tiffany's. You ever seen that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Oh
exactly.
man,
Like I
it's
don't know
so
what you
bad.
call that. It's like Asian face, I guess it would be.
I
It's
don't know, but my grandpa loves it, and he's got dementia and Alzheimer's, but he just loves that old timey stuff. He wants to watch Gone with the Wind like 20 times a year, and
oh
it's
man, that's going back.
yeah, I know, and it's like showing slavery and stuff, so it's
Yeah,
really uncomfortable. Like,
it's a little bit of a rough one.
yeah, but now I don't know, like it takes him back to a special time when he remembers seeing it or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah, but that's kind of what some of these James Bond movies are to me because I saw them when I was really young, like
yeah,
Thunderball. Thunderball was up there. I thought it was cool because there were sharks in it. I
yeah.
was
There were sharks in it. That was pretty cool,
I thought that
and
was badass.
he had a lot more gadgets in that one. I think he had a jetpack.
Yeah, I mean that's way more my speed. Like I like that.
Yeah,
And yeah, I appreciated that story. It got a little more cartoonish, like comic book. Uh,
yeah,
so 69, Honor Majesty's Secret Service.
yeah.
Let's
That
see.
one, that one kind of has me on the fence in a lot of ways because I really do like it, but I don't like the actor playing James Bond, George Lazenby.
Oh, that's the Lazenby one with the ski resort, right?
Yep, and Telly Savalas is in it, and
I
Diana Rigg is in it.
I like that movie, except it seemed almost like it was like Batman Begins. You know what I mean? Like it was
Yeah,
like trying to go back and do the origin of James Bond. I feel like.
a little bit, but it's actually not. It's takes place in order.
But I feel
It's
like
just
that movie might be in my top three. Like that might be up at number two or number one for me because like that movie was the most like I don't know involved with the plot. I feel like it had a
yeah,
lot
I
going on,
like it a lot. I just don't like the actor.
and it had like a Gwen Stacy moment where he lost his wife or whatever.
Yeah, it did at the end. That was a big shock moment.
Yeah,
And I would have loved to have seen Sean Connery be able to play that. Like
yeah, I know. That's what I
I
was
bet
just going to bring
he's
up
pissed
because
that he didn't
like
get to do that.
some of my favorite Bond movies are by some unpopular Bonds, like License to
Yeah.
Kill. License to Kill is one of my
Oh yeah.
favorites, and Timothy Dalton wasn't really a favorite, but he's one of my favorites. Like
He's
I
one of my
loved it.
favorites as well. In fact, I like him more than Sean Connery, believe it or not.
Yeah, I actually I feel that way too, only because the Sean Connery Bond was a little too 60s for me, a little too old fashioned. And I
Yeah.
feel like like Timothy Dalton made it a little bit more credible, like with his kind of
Yeah.
demeanor and his attitude. He had the sense of humor, but he wasn't Roger Moore. Roger Moore was also awesome, you know what I mean? Like, and
Yeah.
he was hilarious and he pulled it off, you know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah,
think Roger
exactly.
Moore might have been my favorite because of the way he did it. Almost like
Roger Moore is
Adam
my
West
favorite.
Batman, like
Yeah.
he was able to pull it off and be funny, but still pull the serious role a little bit.
Yeah, I like it when Bond can be a little bit more silly, but
Yeah, exactly.
not cartoonish, but just have a little bit fun with it. That's why
Yeah,
I don't really love the Daniel Craig movies because I feel like they're too serious. Like James Bond is almost like Batman in those
yeah.
movies, you know?
And I kind of hate that they did that to Batman too. We talked about that last week. Like
Yeah,
they killed his sense of humor, and it's like
right.
that was what was so endearing about the character. It's a guy who dresses up like a bat, for Christ's sake. Like that's supposed to be funny. It's not supposed to
Yeah,
be
and
scary. Like the fact that they're trying to make it scary is like like I don't know, man. It's
yeah,
like
and with James Bond, I feel like Austin Powers is what caused that to happen. Like
yeah,
if it wasn't for those movies, I feel like they wouldn't have gone ultra serious. You know, they felt like they had to pivot from
yeah.
the jokey stuff, you know.
Yeah, and that is one downside of like things like spoof movies that are done directly like that. Now, unlike the spoof movies like what do you call it? Naked Gun, which was kind of
Right.
a joke of itself and made fun of other things at the same time.
Yeah,
It's
it's multiple
like
things, like
yeah,
Airplane as well, too, you know.
like Austin Powers directly made fun of James Bond, like
Yeah.
to the point that James Bond had to get
And it was specifically really making fun of the Roger Moore era in a lot of ways, you know.
yeah,
So
because it made fun of Odd Job and
yeah, it made fun of that too, but like it felt like the tone
oh, that was
was a lot closer.
Goldfinger. Yeah,
Yeah,
I totally forgot which movie Odd Job was in. Yeah, that he went
he
with
was in
like
Goldfinger.
yeah. He went with that kind of tone though. All right,
Yeah.
where do you have You Only Live Twice ranked? Sorry, I skipped that.
Oh, You Only Live Twice. I have it 19.
Okay, at 19, and then On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
That's
That's
14.
season B. 14.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's almost like a Christmas movie too. There's a lot of Christmas stuff in that movie.
I got a fake Elon Musk trying to call me right now.
Oh no, another one.
Scammers. They'll get you, or they'll try to
Yeah.
get you. Just if you're getting scammed, just stay strong.
You got
Don't
to
give
keep your head on a
in
swivel.
and mess with them as much as you possibly can. It'll do the
Well,
body good.
that's one way to handle it, I guess.
Yeah. All right. The next one on the list is number 7 in 1971. Diamonds Are
Yeah.
Forever.
That's a crazy one.
Now they went back to what's his name?
Sean Connery, yeah.
Connery again. So
Yeah.
they did this a couple times, almost like the Raiders moving around, you know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and believe it or not, it was George Lazenby left of his own accord. They
yeah,
wanted to bring him back, but he said he didn't want to do it. 'Cause I
weird.
guess he didn't want to be known as James Bond or something. I don't know why.
Yeah. Well, I mean, some people were afraid. Even Connery was afraid of the typecast. He didn't like it. That was part of why he was trying to get out of the role. You
Yeah,
know.
he also didn't like that the first 5 Bond movies he made like the same amount of money. So he
Yeah.
didn't get an increase in pay.
Yeah. Not
So he
that it would
was
make any
annoyed that they weren't paying him more, even though the movies
I
were
didn't know
making so
that.
much more money.
I
What?
I really didn't know any of that backstory. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why he left. And he came back because they actually did offer him more money.
Nice. So that was in Diamonds Are Forever.
Yeah,
So
and that has a lot
tell
of
me about that
classic
plot.
James Bond stuff in it.
Yeah.
You know, it's got
And this is
henchmen, unique henchmen.
the last official Sean Connery Bond
Right.
movie.
This was his last official one.
Yeah.
And then he came back for kind of a sort of a remake of Thunderball with Never Say Never Again.
Okay. Who directed this one? We didn't talk too much about directors at all.
This Diamonds Are Forever was directed by Guy Hamilton, who directed a bunch. He directed the next 2 after this. So he directed 3 in a row.
Okay. So he actually handled the Roger Moore transition.
Yeah, he did. He did Sean Connery and then 2 Roger Moores. So
Okay. So I have him to thank for A View to a Kill and oh wait, no.
uh, well,
No.
no, he didn't direct that. He directed
Live and Let
Live and Let
Die.
Die.
Okay. And The Man with the Golden Gun. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, where do you have that one ranked? Diamonds Are Forever.
Diamonds Are Forever, I have at 17.
At 17. Okay, so it's kind of middle of the pack. There are what,
Yeah,
26
it's not
movies?
one of my favorites, but it does have a lot of wacky stuff in it. And Crispin Glover's father is in it as one of the henchmen who is what was the name? Mr. Wit and Mr. I forget the other guy's name. But basically they were like these gay villains. They were like there was some subtle stuff between them that they were like in a relationship
Oh yeah,
and
I
they were
remember
like
that.
henchmen trying to kill James Bond and he kills them in the end, in the very end of the movie. I don't know why they're still trying to kill him when their boss has been eliminated, you
Yeah.
know. But that's
I always thought that was funny in older movies where, like they would make like a lot of the villains gay, you know.
yeah.
I don't know
They
why,
like a lot of
but
psychopaths are
yeah,
like turn
yeah.
out to be like that. Yeah.
It was like well,
Yeah,
kind
it couldn't
of
just
the
be a
thing to
normal
do.
person.
Yeah. I thought
It had to
that
be,
was kind of a funny trend.
yeah, it was a little bit homophobic for the time, yeah.
Yeah. And in Diamonds Are Forever, uh yeah, that had two women on the cover. So that would they went
Yeah,
out
that was like
with
Bambi and Thumper were a couple of henchmen as well, where he fights some girls in that one.
wow, it really sounds like it was directed by the same people as old Batman show with Adam West,
Yeah,
you know.
it actually feels more like a Roger Moore movie. In fact, he could have started with that one.
Yeah. Yeah, that one I do remember. Uh, okay, so the first Live and Let Die, the first one with Roger Moore. I
Yeah,
remember I remember thinking, the first time I saw it, that like, and knowing that it was his first movie, he was an older man. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
he was an
yeah.
older
He's
guy.
actually
Like,
older than Sean Connery. He just looks younger than him.
that's so funny. Yeah, that
Yeah,
like he's the older guy. Like trying to play a kind of a younger role. A little bit. And that
yeah,
to me is one of the greatest jokes you can ever play in Hollywood, is just have an old guy do all this stuff that he shouldn't be able to do. That's awesome.
right.
Like that's
Well,
hilarious.
to me, at that point, Sean Connery in Diamonds Are Forever looked way older than he actually was. Like he was
Yeah.
really going gray at that point, and Roger Moore looked a little younger than Sean Connery, but still kind of older, because he
Yeah.
was.
Yeah. So that one though, I did feel like was action packed. It was fun. It kept me interested.
Yeah, I
It,
like that one a lot. I think it's a fun one.
it would be my top
Um,
10. It'd probably be like not number 9 or number 8 or something like that. But
yeah, for me, I have it at 11.
oh, that's pretty close.
Um, yeah, and that's also the one where he runs across a bunch of alligators. Remember that
It's
part?
funny. I was just thinking about watching Arnold in what Conan, how
Oh
he
yeah,
just like bashes a camel on the head. Like it's like, why was
he punches
animal
a horse.
cruelty, like why was it so funny back then? Like
I
it
think
was
it's
so
it's extra funny
unexpected.
because it's Arnold.
Like when it happened, and I was kind of out of it. Like I was enjoying the evening, and I was a little tipsy, and
Yeah,
he smashed a camel's head, and that totally like wrecked my world. I was like, what the hell just happened, man?
yeah,
Like
and it's like in Blazing Saddles when that guy punches a horse
yeah.
and like knocks it out.
Yeah, that's like the animal cruelty was funny back then. I don't know
Yeah, for
how.
some reason.
Yeah, and it's like they had to put like no animal was harmed in the making of this, and why would
Yeah.
they ever have to write that? It's not funny, you know.
Well, they want you to know that
Yeah,
nobody actually killed an animal, although sometimes they did.
why would they
Sometimes there were
make it
movies
like
where
they
animals
did that?
died.
All right, well, whatever. Yeah, the animal cruelty thing, real funny that he ran across alligators' heads.
Yeah.
It's like this picture on the
Well, I
internet
don't know if they
going
were real
around.
alligators, but they
I
were
sent it
meant
to
to look
you.
like alligators.
This
Yeah.
fat black dude kicking an alligator in the face. It's on my Instagram. I sent
Yeah, I
it.
saw that
Yeah.
picture. Yeah.
Oh,
He's
I
like
thought it
doing
was awesome. But
side
at
kicks.
the same time, it's like being mean to alligators isn't funny, you know.
No.
All right. The next one, Man with the Golden Gun. This would be top 10 for me, probably too.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah.
I thought this was a pretty cool one, and it was almost like it had like a mythical aura about it. There are a couple
Yeah.
Bond movies that have like this kind of magic kind of mystique to it. Like it
Yeah. And
that
it's
makes any sense.
also It's got a great villain with Christopher Lee in it.
Yeah.
Uh, and he, for some reason, he's playing a guy that has three nipples.
Well, I knew somebody like that. I miss you, Pete.
Or-
Yeah. Yeah, he had like this third little nipple that he was gonna have removed, but yeah, I don't know. Girls liked it, so he kept it.
Nice. More is better. Anyway.
Yeah, that's what I say. You know.
Yeah.
All right, so The Spy Who Loved Me, the next one. This is one of my favorites. Also, that it would
Yeah, it's
be
one of my favorites as
probably
well. Yeah.
also top 10. You know,
Yeah.
or maybe 11 or 12. But yeah, it's the introduction of Jaws,
Yeah.
and
For me, I have it at number four. It's I love that one. Jaws is
Jaws
in
was
it,
one of
like you
my
said.
favorite characters, as you know, and it's really funny that it came out around the same time as Jaws the movie. You know,
Yeah.
like
And he bites a shark in it.
yeah, that was popular for some reason at that time. You know,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, that was a big thing back then. But yeah, Jaws is awesome. He's just such a cool villain. Doesn't make sense. He's basically like a superhero or a supervillain. He's got strength
He's
that
got
like
yeah, he bites through things. He's got like super teeth. Like his
yeah, he
dentist
lifts up a
was
van at one.
what did his dentist do? Like he was like a mad scientist that worked on his mouth, you know? Like he was like
I don't know.
yeah.
Really weird.
Yeah, I did appreciate that though. And he is my favorite villain. And I love the
Yeah,
actor. Yeah, you know, he was in Happy Gilmore later on.
yeah, he was. Yeah, he's
Oz.
been in a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, he's pretty great.
Yeah,
Uh yeah, one of my favorites is also coming up next. Where do you rank The Spy Who Loved Me?
that's number four for me.
Number four. Yeah, that would be up there, but I think this makes the top five. Moonraker. It's the only
Oh, Moonraker.
sci-fi, James Bond movie where he goes to space. I loved it because I'm a silly kid, you know, like, and
Yeah,
I
there's
appreciated, you know, like the goofiness of it for one. But he went to
yeah.
space, the outrageous,
Well, it
uh,
was after Star Wars, so they wanted to do
yeah.
some Star Wars stuff.
And
And
I
if you
loved
actually
the
if
laser
you
on his
watch The Spy
watch.
Who Loved Me, at the end of the movie, it doesn't say the next movie is going to be Moonraker.
Huh.
It says when it says James Bond will return, it says something else, I think. And they went to Moonraker because they wanted to do a Star Wars thing.
Weird. Yeah. You know, it's funny how movie studios get wind of what other ones are doing, like, and they make like the
Yeah,
same kind of movie, like Deep Impact and Armageddon, you know, like
yeah,
that just one example, you know, it happens all the time though. Like they just got
yeah.
to compete with each other.
But
So,
it's funny to try to squeeze it into a Bond movie, you know?
yeah, well, I'd like to see, you know, I heard that the latest Bond was like a comedian or something. I forget who, but who they're looking at to be the next Bond. And
Oh, yeah, I've heard a bunch of different names. I don't
yeah,
know exactly who they're going to pick.
I heard
What you talking
it was
about, though?
like somebody really funny though, and like it didn't seem like that would be a good pick for Bond, but like you could see a serious side to the dude, you know.
Yeah.
Like
And I wouldn't
can't
mind if it
remember who
was
the hell it
funny.
was though.
Yeah, I don't know who you mean, but I would like it to be a little bit more funny than it has been. I feel
Yeah,
like it's been kind of grim.
yeah, I would want to say like it's not Chris Pratt, but it's somebody like that, you know, like
Okay.
somebody that's kind of
Is he British?
no, no, he wasn't British.
No. Well, that would be weird if he wasn't.
Yeah, yeah, I know. That's what I thought. I thought it was
Yeah,
real
it's
strange.
like Josh Brolin was almost James Bond. He auditioned and he
That
was.
would be cool. You know, it'd be cool if they did a black James Bond. You know, I would like
Yeah,
that if
everyone has
they did.
talked about Idris Elba as James Bond, who,
That would be a cool one. You know, I think
yeah.
it'd be a good young one. The Denzel Washington's son, John Washington, or
Oh,
whatever.
really? I don't know him. What has
He's
he been
the
in?
star of Tenet. Did you see Tenet?
Oh, no, I haven't seen Tenet, but
Oh
I
man,
know who you're talking about now.
dude, that was
Yeah,
a really cool movie. It was
yeah.
strange, but once you wrap your head around the concept, it was like it was
That's
pretty.
his son?
Yeah,
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
yeah, or at least I think he is. I don't want to spread fake news, but yeah.
He could be. I don't know.
Yeah, I
But
didn't
yeah,
watch
that's
him
cool.
inseminate his wife and then watch her give birth. So I
Yeah,
don't
we don't know for sure, but I'm sure there's a
know.
IMDb article that says whether or not he is.
Yeah, there probably is, but I feel like that would be cool to see, and definitely another sci-fi James Bond movie. Something about the moon would be cool as hell,
Yeah,
like go back to the moon.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I always like Moonraker, but I don't like that. One of the things I don't like about it is that Jaws becomes kind of a good guy at the end.
I know it's like all it took was for him to meet like a woman in the middle of a fight, and then
Yeah,
he's like, "I'm a good guy now,"
yeah.
That was such a weird turnaround. But as a kid, it seemed perfectly logical. Like
Seemed to make sense. Yeah,
it seemed to make total sense. It's like, of course, Jaws was just a good guy the whole time. He was just trying to be friends with James Bond. You know,
yeah, and that's the movie that has a pigeon doing a double take when he's riding the gondola. The pigeon's like, "What? What was that?"
Yeah. That takes me back to a personal story of when I broke my window in my house with my buddy doll because I was trying to scare a squirrel. I thought it would scare. I was like 4 or 5, and I was
So,
like, Joe, to my older brother who should know better. But I'm like to my older brother, hey, we got to scare this squirrel, man. You catch it, I'm gonna throw it. So I threw it. He didn't catch it. Buddy went right through the effing window. So
that's great.
yeah, that's a good little story there. That's totally unrelated,
Yeah,
but
my buddy is that's going back.
yeah, it's going back to this era. For Your Eyes Only, 1981.
Oh, that one I love.
I
I
love the
love
cover that it
Horizon.
shows. It's just like a lady's butt.
Yeah,
You
I
know?
know. And Bond is in between it, pointing a gun. It's
Yeah. Yeah. I wish let me zoom in on that. Yeah,
yeah.
there he is.
Well, you got to get people in the seats, you know.
Yeah, and that was what sold in 1981, apparently. So
Yeah,
yeah, that one For Your Eyes Only. I'm trying to. I do just remember the end scene where she's like, "For your eyes only, James," and she like strips her clothes off. That's it. That's the only thing I remember from the movie. I don't
yeah.
know.
And the
I must.
parrot is like talking to Margaret Thatcher on the phone.
Yeah. Yeah, and that
It's
was
a
one.
but I love
Kenny
that
was
one.
like flirting with them in that one too, like every movie. But
Yeah,
she was real jealous of the main woman, I think,
yeah.
if I can
No,
remember.
but I think that's a great one because I think it's Roger Moore's probably his most serious Bond movie in a lot of ways. It's
That's the
still
one with
pretty
the
silly,
skiing,
but
right?
yeah, that's the one with the skiing and
Wait,
it's got the
okay,
guy
no,
from
no.
Fiddler on the Roof in it.
I was gonna say Christopher Walken is a bad guy, but that's View to a Kill, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was a great
No,
bad
the
guy.
bad guy is John Glover, who was what's his name? Maester Pycelle in Game of Thrones.
Oh wow, yeah, yeah, I remember that. I remember
Yeah.
watching that after Game of Thrones and noticing.
Yeah, he was also in Indiana Jones as well.
Yeah, yeah, that guy's been
Yeah.
in everything.
Yeah, he's a good villain. He's a good bad guy.
He's a good character actor. Yeah,
Yeah.
like he's able to play those roles. But
But
you know,
For Your Eyes Only has a great scene where he like the anti-theft thing on his car, the Lotus, the bad guy smashes the window and the car explodes.
yeah, yeah.
I was like, what
What kind of
what's the point
defense
of
is
that?
that?
You just destroyed your car.
Yeah, that
Like you
was
might as well let him have it.
that was the one with the submarine car too. Yeah, that
Yeah,
that
well, no, that was in Spy
oh,
Love Me, but it was
Spy
the
Who
same
Loved
car.
Me. So
Yeah,
okay, yeah, yeah. I want that car someday. That would be so cool. Like
yeah. As long as it doesn't
not that
explode if the glass
specific
breaks.
car, but a car that can do that. Turn into a submarine and then just be a regular car and be fine.
Yeah,
And be
yeah,
like, okay, just rinse it off. Get
yeah.
the sewage
Exactly.
off of this thing, and you'll be good. That's
And
what
he
I
takes out a fish, and like somehow a fish got in the car, and he like throws a
want.
fish out of it.
Yeah,
Like,
like movie magic. Yeah.
yeah.
Where do you have that one ranked, Ed?
For Your Eyes Only, I have it number two.
At
So
number
that's a big
2.
one for me. Yeah,
Oh, okay. Wow. Yeah, that's a good one, but I actually like the next one more, mainly because of the title, Octopussy in 1983. This would make top five for me, mainly just because of the name, and
Right.
it was fun. But I
Yeah.
think A View to a Kill was a little bit better because of the villain, because of
Yeah.
villains, I should say. There were
Yeah.
multiple high build actors that played the villains in the next one, and I
Yeah.
think that really made it. But Octopussy was fun.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember the plot and who was the bad guy in this one.
The bad it takes place in India. So and the bad guy was it was all about the Fabergé egg thing. I
Oh,
don't remember that one as well.
yeah, I remember. Yeah,
But it also has those knife throwing twins, who I thought were cool cool bad guys that Bond
yeah.
has to go up against,
Was this the
on the
one with the
train.
the boat chase scene,
Is there a boat chase scene?
or am I
There's a
thinking of a different one?
there's a three-wheeled car chase scene in the streets of like
That's one thing we didn't really talk about. I love the chase scenes in some of these.
yeah, they're always great, I think.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
mean they're not as good as like what do you call it? That epic Steve McQueen car chase. Yeah, I don't know if you know what I'm
oh,
talking.
Vanishing Point.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not even
Yeah,
positive, but yeah, there's like this car chase that goes on for like 15 minutes. You know,
yeah.
and
But they're pretty good. Like you get like a 5 minute car chases in those movies, and they're pretty good in James
yeah,
Bond. And
especially
the
like
cars have gadgets.
the European streets. I like that, like them speeding around the European, like whether it's in England or Britain or yeah, wherever, where like Italy, like when he
Yeah,
travels around, it's pretty cool. I like seeing a little bit of the world at the same time that
yeah.
I'm
That's a
being
big theme. James
entertained.
Bond has to go to cool places
Yeah,
every time.
and places
It's
I've never heard of too. Like
yeah,
he's going to war-torn countries sometimes, and like that's not normally a vacation or even like a curiosity destination. Like
yeah.
people aren't really wondering about Iraq and Iran or
And
Bangladesh.
it's like a time capsule because you get to see those places in that time in the 70s or the 60s. And
Yeah,
if you went there now, it'd be totally different.
and that is yeah, I mentioned it before with like the misogynistic behavior. Like that's one of the downsides, like, but I really appreciate the piece of history, like I don't get
Yeah.
mad at the fact that it it can be funny.
No, I think it's
you know
important. I think it's important to see what it used to be like.
Exactly. And if you take it with a grain of salt and yeah, just kind of laugh at our inexperience rather than, get mad and want to cancel everything. And
Yeah, well, I mean the Austin Powers movies made fun of that completely. So that I think that sort of takes it shows that we've sort of
I,
evolved a little bit and we're
we've
we're different
digressed.
now.
Yeah, we've
Yeah.
digressed from being able to laugh at ourselves a little bit. Everybody's
Yeah.
taking themselves a little too seriously, you know, except
Yeah.
for me. I really don't take myself very seriously at all. So, but that's
I
all
hope you
right.
don't.
So where'd you have Octopussy ranked?
For me, that's more closer to the middle. I have it at 15. Um,
Okay. I would probably
it's
rank it around there too. It's
yeah,
middle of the pack, but I
yeah.
did enjoy it.
It does have a great name though, and it's a name of one of the characters, which
Got
is
a
even
great cover.
crazier.
Look at all the hands on them.
Yeah, it's that's
Got
almost
eight
like
hands because yeah,
yeah. The
octopus.
the cover is almost offensive in a way. 'Cause it's like almost mocking the Indian culture in a way.
Yeah, a little bit.
The religion.
Yeah, yeah, like the well, I forget the goddess's name.
Yeah, I forget too, but
You know,
that's a
I don't
big
know,
big symbol over there.
the elephant goddess or some shit. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm a little ignorant on the topic, but yeah, basically
yeah.
that's kind of what it's what it's referencing anyway.
I don't know. Yeah.
But it's
So
also Octopussy because she's got 8 arms, so it's like
that's what I
it's
mean.
kind
Yeah,
of yeah.
it's kind of funny. And
Yeah,
that's also I brought it up in the superhero chat. It's funny how often octopuses and spiders are used as analogies for like
yeah,
either a villain or a hero because of the like first off the unique place in the ecosystem that each have. They are both kind of predators, and they are
yeah,
very intelligent and have mysterious kind of circumstances to their origin, and like They're
Yeah, it's
both
almost like
kind
an
of
alien from another planet. It's like
they
such a
both
weird creature.
seem yeah, they both seem very alien, except they're both, very Earth-like at the same time. So I
Yeah,
don't know. It's a great villain and hero analogy.
right. But what a funny thing about Octopussy is that like that's the woman's name in the movie is Octopussy, right?
I know, and
Why
it's just
doesn't James
continuing
Bond
the
ever
theme.
say, why is that your name?
I don't know. I was wondering that too, and not just
Yeah.
about her, but like a lot of. Well, wait, no, it was not a lot of vagina. It was pussy galore.
Pussy
Like
galore, yeah.
pussy
Crazy.
galore. Like that's that's
Well, that's
ridiculous.
what's so funny about the scene is like James Bond is like, oh, I must be dreaming when she introduces himself.
Yeah, it's very tongue in cheek.
I
Very
didn't even know people
silly.
said pussy back then. Like,
I know. I didn't either, but this just goes to show you they were funnier than they let on. So, all
yeah.
right, this is the last. Oh, wait, no. A View to a Kill is
Oh yeah.
next, and I really love this. I love Christopher Walken as the bad guy. He's got a scene where he's shooting people and hysterically laughing, and
Yeah, he's
it
mowing them down. It's actually pretty dark.
it is one of the funnier scenes in the movie,
Yeah.
though. Like it cracks me up every time. Just his glee,
And
like
that those are like his men. Those
yeah,
were
those are
work
his
they were working
guys.
for him.
Yeah, it shows what a sicko bad guy he is. Like it was funny.
Yeah.
It was a really funny touch that like they added to this maniacal bad guy character.
Yeah.
I love that movie. That's probably in the top 10 for me. I'd say like seven. Something.
Yeah. For me, it's right at number 10. I
Nice.
love that movie. I think it's so silly. I
The
think the
blimp.
theme song is funny. Is
There's a
good actually.
freaking
The
blimp in
Duran
it.
Duran song.
You know.
Yeah. And Mayday is the villain also. And
I
like
know.
I like that she changes heart at the end. I think that's a good like she helps James Bond at the end. I think that was a good
She was
transition for
almost
her
like
to
Jaws, like how Jaws did
yeah.
the same kind of thing.
But for me, it made more sense for her because she actually was betrayed by the villain.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Also,
But
Dolph Lundgren has a cameo appearance in A View to a
oh,
Kill.
I don't remember him in that. Was he
He
just a
plays a
random
KGB
henchman?
agent who has no lines, and he's just basically standing in the background. But you could definitely see him.
That's awesome. All right, so you had that one at number 10, right?
Yeah,
Uh, the next one, 1987, The Living Daylights.
yeah, I like that one a lot. I like the Timothy Dalton movies. I wish he had done
Oh,
more.
this is the first Timothy Dalton movie. I didn't realize. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah, I love this one too.
yeah,
I like License to Kill more, I believe, but
yeah,
I like the pace of this movie. It was like they just changed James Bond all of a sudden and made it a little bit more action packed. Like
yeah. And
they
it's
upped the
funny because
stunts. I
yeah,
don't know. They must have put more money into the stunts and stunt coordination, because this one had like a lot of high, tension and high, I would think production value stunts.
yeah. And it also he got more serious with these
Yeah.
movies than he was with Roger Moore. And it's funny that was like not that was kind of rejected. They weren't as popular. So it's almost like Timothy Dalton was a a precursor to Daniel Craig in a lot of ways. Like
He
he
was,
was,
yeah. And in
you know,
fact, I feel like these movies were definitely precursors. If you watch them in a row with the Daniel Craig movies, it would
mhm,
make that character make more sense. Because like that
yeah,
character doesn't make sense to me if you watch Pierce Brosnan and then go to him.
yeah,
Like Pierce Brosnan is almost like another Roger Moore.
yeah.
Like he's even
He is,
classier, like
yeah, no,
he does it with such grace, you know what I mean? And he delivers all his one-liners so perfectly. You know what I mean? Like he was a great James Bond also, but like he was almost his own worst enemy because like of his kind of image, like
yeah,
I feel like his image was his own persona. And that's not James Bond, like that. I don't know. He
yeah.
was
I
a
also
little
feel like he
too
was influenced by the other Bonds. I
he
feel
was
like he
too
was
cool.
doing,
He was too
yeah,
cool to be James Bond, like I feel like James Bond is a little bit of like a try hard trying to get
yeah.
it done, like he's
And
not.
I liked Pierce Brosnan as a kid, but I've liked him a little bit less as I've gotten older. I
Yeah,
actually think Timothy Dalton would have been better if he continued on into the Pierce Brosnan era.
me too. Me too. Yeah,
Yeah.
and like, and nothing against Pierce Brosnan. I think he's a phenomenal actor. In fact,
Yeah, no, I like him.
probably on par or not, if not above Timothy Dalton.
Yeah,
But Timothy Dalton had that kind of harder edge to Bond.
yeah.
And
But he
we
still
were
had the
just
charm and the
appreciating,
humor, you
yeah,
know? Yeah,
we were appreciating the humor of Roger Moore more than anybody else before. You know what I mean? And really,
right.
like, we appreciate the hardness of Dalton. Like
Yeah,
he, and especially like the kind of like dramatic edge he brought to it, because he was really acting his ass off too.
yeah,
Like, I feel like with Roger Moore, it was almost like Adam West, where it's like tongue in
yeah,
cheek. It's funny a little bit, but
yeah,
it's still being serious enough to make it watchable. He's not, being a complete buffoon. But I feel
right.
like Timothy Dalton really acted it. Like he put
Yeah,
himself in James Bond's shoes and kind of became the character more than anybody else. But that's
yeah.
just
I think he's
my opinion.
underrated. I think he did a great job.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, that's a vote for Tim right there. All
Yeah,
right. What do you got for that one? What number is that?
that is number 7 for me, The Living Daylights.
Okay, this that would probably be for me top 10, but like number 15 or 14, something like that. And the
Yeah.
next one,
Well, it's not
License
top
to
10. That's
Kill.
top 50.
The next one, License to Kill, would be in the top 5. I really enjoyed License to Kill.
Yeah.
It's the same thing I was talking about before about the stunts. It was action packed. It was more fun. You know.
And that might be the darkest Bond movie, at least up to that point, it certainly was. Felix Leiter gets eaten by sharks, or
Yeah.
gets his leg chewed off by sharks, and his wife is murdered. So it's like it's a really dark movie, and Benicio del Toro is in that one too.
Yeah, he plays the bad guy, and
Plays one of the bad guys. Yeah,
he's like this scrawny little bad guy with long fingernails, you know.
yeah, and he also gets chopped up in some kind of grinder, a rock grinder. Why they have one of those laying around? Who knows?
Yeah, yeah. There are a lot of funny things that the villains use to dispose of bodies that nobody ever would, like.
Yeah,
And I'm glad they made fun of that in Austin Powers, but
yeah.
I lost my
But the,
list over here because of my stupid my tablet.
oh,
Uh,
well, I could tell you what's next if you want to.
yeah, if you could. Oh wow, wow. So there was a 6 year gap in Bond movies. I didn't
Yeah,
realize.
there was a big gap. I don't know. I forget why that was. I know that Timothy Dalton left and he didn't want to do more. He was another one that just wanted out, which I think
Yeah,
is unfortunate.
yeah, that is
But I think there was some
unfortunate.
kind of legal battle between the production companies at that time. So
Yeah,
it took a
that's
while
that
for the
sucks.
next one to come out.
America and Britain and the world suffered because they needed James Bond during that time. Like,
Yeah, that was a huge gap, and it's a shame.
especially, yeah, the '90s sucked. The early '90s, yeah,
Yeah,
they
there
could
was.
use the Bond movie. And I'm
Yeah,
glad that, like, the next one, it's not one of my favorites. It's probably towards the bottom, like 20 or whatever. But GoldenEye, which
GoldenEye. Yeah,
brought Bond back. I feel
yeah.
like
I
that
like
movie
GoldenEye.
is
I think
super
that's
overrated.
one of my favorite.
I
What?
feel like it's so overrated, weirdly.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I
Well,
don't know
it's
why.
kind of overrated because of the game, right?
Yeah,
The
yeah. I feel
the
like the
game makes
game
it more popular.
and the release time of the game didn't coincide with the release of the movie, which was strange for that time.
Yeah,
You
it came out like a year after the movie, or two
It was like
years, something like
it
that.
was as if they actually focused on making a game rather than worrying about the release point, and
Yeah,
the game was great for that. You know what I mean?
yeah. The
It
game
was
was
one of the
awesome.
best
I
games.
love the game, and that is the nostalgia of the movie for me is why I would rank it high for me.
Yeah.
Uh, and I also like that Sean Bean is a bad guy in the movie. I
Yeah, and
think
he
he plays
dies.
a good.
He
Yeah, he
pulls the
dies.
Sean Bean death,
Yeah, he
which
was another actor that was that auditioned for James Bond and sort of wanted to be him, but said he'd be better at dying. So
I wish they would have let him do that because, like he was the whole reason I got into watching Game of Thrones, and they killed him in that too. It's like, like
and
just,
Boromir.
yeah, I wanted him to have a different fate than Boromir. And it's like George R. R. Martin had different plans, like,
Yeah, well, I mean, he's got some British shows that he's been in that where he's like the hero and he doesn't die, but
yeah, well,
in
I would like
America,
to
in
watch one
American
of
movies,
those.
he's always dying.
Yeah, I want to watch one of those for a freaking change because I'm sick of seeing him die. But yeah,
He's good at dying
GoldenEye.
though.
They also had what's his name? It was a good villain. Boris, that actor. He was in a bunch of
Oh
stuff at
yeah,
that time.
Alan Cumming, who
Yeah.
was eventually would play Nightcrawler in the X-Men movies.
Oh, really? That was him?
Yeah, yeah, that was
Sorry.
him in the second one. He was only in X-Men 2.
Huh.
Yeah,
yeah, I remember, and he spoke with like a German accent.
yeah, yeah. He was cool in that movie. I thought it was a great portrayal of the character.
Yeah, I thought he was a good bad guy, and with the
Well,
clicking
he was
pens.
actually yeah he was a good guy, but he was bad in the beginning.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah,
and he just kept clicking it, and it was a
yeah,
bomb. Like if you click it 3 times, so
yeah. And then he gets frozen to death, like Sub-Zero freeze at the
yeah,
end of the
and
movie
he was
in like his
celebrating at
pose.
that moment. I am invincible. Yeah, yeah, that
Yeah,
was funny. But all right, the next one, Tomorrow Never Dies.
yeah,
This
I
one I saw on repeat when I was a kid because it was the only thing on at my grandpa's house, and
yeah.
yeah, I remember thinking how ridiculous it was that wait, hold on. Tomorrow Never Dies. No, it wasn't this
Yeah,
one. I'm sorry. Tomorrow Never Dies is the one where Terry Hatcher.
yeah. Terry Hatcher's in that one,
Terry Hatcher's in it for a second. And
and Michelle Yeoh is in it.
yeah, that's that one. Yeah, that one was kind of forgettable to me a little bit. It kind of felt for
Yeah,
effects.
for me, I like it because I think I like the villain in it was I thought pretty cool. He was like this media mogul who was making his own news. It's
Yeah.
almost like a little bit ahead of its time, where like now it's like every media outlet has their own thing they want to push for, and they don't just report the news anymore, really.
No,
So
no,
it's like,
they just they push agendas. Yeah. And
yeah, and
it's
all
kind
of
of
them do
funny.
it to some degree or another. Fox News, CNN, they all have like a thing they
Everybody's
want to
got to make
put out
money,
there.
Everybody's
Yeah.
got to make money, so they're representing somebody when they
But
do
it's a little
something.
different. I don't know if they're creating the news. They're just focusing on certain things. Whereas this guy was actually
Exactly.
making the news.
Yeah.
He was like staging, world events so he
Yeah.
could report on it really
And that's a
quickly.
good bad guy, like that
Yeah.
is a pretty cool idea for a villain, but
Yeah.
it's diabolical.
Yeah. That one also has a great car chase where he's controlling the car with his phone,
I know.
which
Now
I felt like was ahead with like the fact that
that
his
was
phone became a device that was usable for other than calls
Yeah, and
was
if
kind of
you've
ahead of
ever
its time.
driven like a drone or anything like that, then you know that he could never fucking do this. Like,
Yeah,
there's
no, it
no
does
way
it
he'd be
perfectly
able.
right away.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like no, it would crash like immediately just testing it out. Yeah, like no
yeah,
way
it was so
anybody's so
silly.
good at something the first time they try something. That was ridiculous. But
Because he
all
had the
right,
magic
I remember
touch.
that. Where do you rank this movie?
For me, I got Tomorrow Never Dies at 12.
Okay, at 12. Oh, that's pretty high. That's higher than I
Yeah,
would rank it. I would rank that in the 20s probably because I kind of forgot about it. But
yeah,
this
I thought it was cool. I thought it's got that motorcycle chase. It's got a lot of good action in it.
it's got the cool
Yeah,
car too with the gadgets, like
yeah,
you brought up earlier. And I really that BMW. I love
yeah,
BMW too. That's one of my favorite car companies. And it was
yeah.
nice to see him in, a German car for a change. Yeah,
And
like
he actually got to use it in this one, whereas the BMW and GoldenEye he never even uses. He just
yeah. Yeah,
they
I
just show
hated
it.
that.
Yeah,
All right, so the next one on the list is 1999. They jumped 2 years for The
yeah,
World Is Not Enough. And this one, I feel like they were trying so hard this is the one I saw on repeat. They were trying so
yeah.
hard to just like sell sex. They got like Denise Richards, and
Yeah, in a
what's her
tank
name?
top,
And
Christmas
Sophie
Jones.
Sophie Marceau, and
Yeah.
then the bad guy was what's his name? I can't remember the actor.
Oh, I forget his name. He was in the Stargate show too.
Yeah, yeah, he was Doctor whatever in the Stargate show.
Yeah. I could actually.
Yeah,
He was
Doc.
also in 28 Days Later or 28 Weeks Later.
Oh yeah, he was the dad in 28 Weeks.
Yeah, Robert Carlyle. He was also in Train
Okay.
Spotting. I don't know if you ever saw
He's
that.
a great actor. Yeah, yeah, I have, and that's
Yeah,
unbelievable movie. But
yeah, he's a great
yeah,
actor. He should have been a great villain too.
he was a great
Uh,
villain. Actually, I thought he was great because he had a superpower where he couldn't feel
he
things.
did, yeah. He
You
was
know.
he was like it was almost like an X-Men power. He's like Ajax in the Deadpool movie.
Yeah,
Like he
yeah,
couldn't
he
feel
couldn't
pain.
feel pain. Yeah, I thought that was really cool. That was a cool aspect to the villain. But
Yeah, except he wasn't like the real villain. Like the
he
real
had
villain was Sophie Marceau, was like the main villain.
Yeah, you're right. She was in charge, but he had like a cartoonish plan of getting a submarine and shit though, which I thought
Yeah,
was
he was like gonna
very
like nuke the
admirable.
world or something like that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so where do you put that one?
For me, that one's at 18.
18. All right, then we got one of the number one movies in my book, Die Another Day in
Oh
2002.
no.
I
You like
love
that one?
No,
Oh
no, I
no.
hated this one, but I did love the ice hotel idea. Like everybody stayed in this hotel that was made of fucking ice.
Yeah.
What? Like how practical was this idea? Like
Yeah, and they brought back the Aston Martin for that, and it has a cloaking device on it.
yeah. And he brought back Halle Berry from the dead. And
Yeah,
yeah,
and that they were gonna spin that off too. They were gonna make her character into a her own have her own franchise.
oh, thank goodness that they did not. I
Yeah,
feel
what
bad
was her
for
name?
Halle Berry
Jinx?
because she always got the short end of the stick when it comes to this kind of thing. Like she was in Catwoman too, and that did
Yeah,
really poorly.
she's
Like
been in a lot of big budget movies that just kind of flopped.
yeah, and it's
And
not
I
either
didn't
her
like her as
ability.
Storm either in the X-Men. I thought she was kind of a bad Storm.
It's weird
Uh,
because she's an amazing actress. Like she
yeah,
just doesn't have roles that kind of fit her. You know what I mean? Like I don't know.
it
I
seems like she takes roles that are really she'd be better off avoiding. She
yeah.
almost like sort of a Nicolas Cage situation.
No, I love Nicolas Cage, and the roles he chooses are hilarious.
They are, but like, are they the best thing for his career? I don't know.
I think, yeah, if he's leaving a lasting impression, someday these movies are going to be watched and they're going to be hilarious.
That is true. It's not like, you know, it's not like we don't see them, but we
He's
see
been
them kind of because they're a
like
joke.
to go on a side rant. He's been in some unbelievably underrated movies where he does a great job acting. Like, and
Yeah, no, he has. He's a great actor. He just that he doesn't like to act good.
I think he does. I think he loves to act good, and he likes also to act bad.
Yeah,
Like I don't know.
I
He's
he
one of my
likes to ham it up. He's a little bit like Shatner in that way. He's
yeah.
got talent, but he likes to chew the scenery.
Exactly. Yeah. And I kind of would be the same way if I was an actor. Casino Royale 2006. I like this
Yeah,
one, except we
I like
talked
this one
about
a lot. I think it's the best
the ball
Craig
kicking
movie.
scene, like
Yeah,
that's the only scene like it cringes that I just can't watch it. Like, James Bond has sex with all these women in other movies. I'm just thinking of all the complications, from all these kicks to the balls that he has.
yeah, I didn't. I thought that was like kind of a joke that he
Yeah.
was getting
Well, I love
smashed
the
in the nuts.
villain, Mickle, whatever his name is,
Mads Mikkelsen, yeah, yeah,
Mads
he's
Mikkelsen.
great.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
he's one of the better villains that play in movies. He was in a phenomenal movie called crap. Man, it was simple. He was stranded in the Arctic, and he was the only survivor
oh,
of.
I've seen that. Yeah, yeah, that
Uh,
was great.
yeah, him and the
I forget.
Chinese
I
girl
think it's called
survived the
Arctic.
flight, and yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know.
I'm not sure either, but I have
Stranded
seen it.
or something. It was something like that. But he took care of the girl that was dying or whatever, and she couldn't be
Yeah,
conscious, and they had to like defend against polar bears and shit like that. Like
yeah. It
Yeah,
reminded me of the
that was
Gray,
good.
the Liam Neeson movie, a little
Me
bit.
too. Me too. Yeah, I wish I could figure out the name. I'll look it up real quick. But
Yeah, but yeah, he's a great actor. He also played Hannibal Lecter in the TV show.
did he really?
Yeah,
I didn't see that at all.
yeah, it's a pretty good show. I've only seen the first season, but it was pretty good.
There we go. We got a visitor.
Who's that? Is that the Kitty Man?
Yeah, that's the Kitty Man, Queso. Queso, come here, buddy. Yeah, you see, he's a good boy. He's crazy. He's knocking stuff over. There he
Yeah,
goes. All right. Yeah, so hold on, I gotta pull my notes back up. Yeah, the name of that movie with Mads Mikkelsen, yeah, was Arctic, where he
yeah,
finds that lady. It came to me while we took a little break there. And
yeah,
yeah, that was a phenomenal movie. I feel like that only involved like two people on screen, like
yeah. It's a low budget movie, and he was a good actor in that. I liked him a lot.
yeah, I feel like he carried the film, he did a good
Yeah,
job. And
then we
especially used to seeing him as a villain, I really appreciated him as a hero. He was awesome.
yeah,
I was really rooting for him, to survive because it was crazy circumstances. But
yeah,
all right, so we're already on to Casino Royale, aren't we?
yeah. Maybe we're
Okay, yeah,
on
we
that
talked
one. Yeah,
about that a little. We talked about the ball scene. Where would you rank
yeah.
that?
For me, Casino Royale, I put it number 6, pretty high.
I kind of yeah, it's all right. I put it lower because I think it's stupid that like the British government's willing to sacrifice all this money on gambling. You know, like so dumb. Whatever.
Yeah, it's a little silly, but I like that. I don't love Daniel Craig as Bond, but I thought he was pretty good in that movie.
Yeah.
And they gave him a legitimate romance, like he
Well,
actually cared
that
for
was
the
probably my
girl.
favorite of the Daniel Craig movies too. Which
Yeah,
sucks.
I would agree.
I ranked it so low because I do appreciate him for what he is. It's just he's a little bit more like Timothy Dalton, like we said before, a little bit
Yeah,
darker. And
he
not
is.
as
Yeah,
jovial. I feel like or joyous. He's kind of
yeah. I
like
don't think he was as fun as Timothy Dalton.
yeah, exactly. That's kind of the bottom line is like he doesn't even have that. And Timothy Dalton was not all that fun. Like
Yeah,
he was all right, but he was pretty serious. All right.
yeah. And Daniel Craig doesn't really like doing James Bond, I don't think, and I feel like that comes through in his performance.
Yeah.
Like it feels like he doesn't like doing it.
He's another guy that like is phenomenal. They're all great actors, but like
Yeah.
he was really phenomenal in the movie about the Russian brothers escaping the Holocaust. Do you remember that?
Oh, Defiance? Is that what
Yes.
it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that
And
was great.
that was a great movie. It was great. It was like fundamentally from a human standpoint, it was real, and it was scary.
Yeah.
And it was also like triumphant. Yeah, it had everything. I feel like, and it showed what a range he has as an actor, which is kind
Yeah,
of
no,
why
I
I'm
agree.
disappointed in the Bond that they chose to portray with him. Like or the way the director chose to do it because I feel like he acted it out fine. It's
Yeah.
just that the tone of the movie and the tone of the character was a little different than I would expect from Bond. And the
Yeah,
next
same
movie,
here.
Quantum of Solace, really drove that one home, man. I fell asleep in that movie like every time I put it on. If I need to fall asleep, if I'm ever having a hard time, put Quantum of Solace on, and I will be
Yeah,
passed
to
out
me it's
within.
like the most forgettable James Bond movie.
It's the most boring movie with the least memorable kind of landscape and stuff. Even though they have like a cool building with weird architecture. That's it.
Yeah.
That's about it. It doesn't do anything for me. I
He
really
also has no gadgets at all in that movie, I don't think. It's
yeah.
like they
And
they they toned that down in the Daniel Craig era, but like in that movie he has nothing.
all right, where'd you have Quantum of Solace ranked? That'd be last for me. Well, second to last.
I have that at 21.
All right.
And I did include the Sean Connery Never Say Never Again one that's not official. So
Yeah,
that's
I skipped that because it wasn't on my list, but yeah, that one I think is hilarious with their digital fight that they have, that scene where they're playing the game.
yeah,
It's like a
yeah.
stratagema or whatever,
It's
and it's
Stratagema, right? From Star Trek. It's
yeah,
exactly like that.
yeah, that I thought that was really funny, but
Yeah,
that movie, it was kind of clear that his heart wasn't in it. I feel like,
yeah.
you
And
know,
he
like,
seemed much older than he should be, like to be
and the
playing Bond.
production company wasn't the same production company as the other movies, so it was a
Yeah,
different, like different production altogether.
yeah.
And
So it didn't have the Bond music or anything like that, you know.
yeah, it kind of
And
makes the
it's a
film.
remake. It's a remake of Thunderball. It's the same story.
I know it's the same exact story.
Yeah,
Which is one of the reasons why I like Thunderball, because it's so good they'd have to copy the plot,
yeah.
like
Well, it was like this one guy had the rights to Thunderball, so the only Bond movie he could make was like Thunderball. Was like So it's kind of funny.
yeah. All right, so the next one, I'm gonna need your help refreshing these because I think all of them flow together.
Yeah, Skyfall is the next one, right?
Skyfall, I remember a helicopter scene in Skyfall, coincidentally, and
Yeah,
that it was pretty ridiculous, and the stunts, just the filmography was outstanding. It was like
yeah.
ridiculously good, but I mean, like as far as the story and everything like that, I didn't really get sucked in. There were
Well,
scenes
to me,
that were amazing though, like stunt wise, but
yeah, I think the villain was really interesting, but his plan is so
what was
stupid. And
his plan, and who was he? Because I refreshed my memory.
he's played by Javier Bardem, from Dune and No Country for Old Men, all that stuff. And
Oh,
he
okay.
was he was basically a former like MI6 agent or something like that, and he worked with M, the Judi Dench character, and he hated her. He wanted to kill her. Um, and he was kind of a terrorist and like all this other stuff. But like his plan is so crazy because he gets captured on purpose and then breaks out. And it's just like, how could he possibly have planned all this? And his plan is to kill M, and he kind of does. He does. She dies in the end of the movie, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it just felt like such a downer because it felt like the bad guy won, and he didn't care about dying himself.
yeah. I do
So
remember that scene now. Yeah,
yeah,
where M died. Yeah, and she
yeah,
kind of went out like in a blaze of glory too. Like she knew she was going down. You know,
yeah,
I thought it was kind of silly. Very
right,
theatrical. Like, but it was what it was.
yeah.
Where would you put that on your list?
For me, I have that at 20,
At 20. Okay.
just ahead of Quantum.
Yeah, it'd be down there for me too. It's funny because like in more recent years, like I just didn't really like the tone as much recently as I did in the past, and it's funny that it ended with it's ironic really, that it ended with the Pierce Brosnan, that I rank very last. That one I enjoyed more as a movie than
Yeah,
I
I can
actually
understand
enjoyed
that.
some of the Daniel Craig ones, because at least like that one was not taking itself so freaking seriously.
Yeah.
Like all these Daniel Craig ones are like trying to be the most dramatic movie of all fucking time. You
Yeah,
know,
it's like they want to be Jason Bourne or Mission Impossible. That's kind of what they're trying to do. They're
yeah,
trying to copy the Mission Impossible thing, but the Mission Impossible movies are so much more fun, you
yeah,
know?
I think so too. There's so much more really plot driven, like the plot is so much more prevalent and it's hard to miss, in James
Yeah.
Bond, especially recently. And it goes for the last Batman movie too. Like it was too informational and not enough stuff happening on screen. It was
Yeah,
too
and it's
much
not fun
talk.
enough. Like it's just,
Yeah.
like it's I don't know, it's taking itself way too seriously, I think. And it
Me
has
too.
all the
I agree.
ridiculous stuff that happens in other Bond movies, but it doesn't acknowledge it. It acts like it's serious and it
You know,
shouldn't be.
I could tell why you're my best friend. We haven't even talked about this, and like we got the same idea about the whole thing. Is like It's almost like
Yeah.
Batman, but it really is. I feel like this character is a mixture of Batman, Captain Kirk, and a little bit of Captain America, but like for Britain. Even Tom Holland, if they picked him to be a young James,
Okay. Yeah. He'd
like
be.
I think that'd be a good pick.
Yeah.
He's funny enough and he'd be comical enough to bring that to the role. Like he was able to pull off Spider-Man, which is a pretty tough. Spider-Man's a witty little bastard. He's supposed to be like Deadpool, like his sense of humor
Yeah.
is supposed to be off the charts. He was Stan
Hmm.
Lee basically like quipping, from the couch, jumping around, telling
Yeah.
people to write. So yeah, I feel like he would do a good job as Bond. But
Yeah.
yeah, we'll go to the next movie, Spectre, 2015.
Yeah.
How'd you feel about this one? Did the same as the last one, kind of?
I think it's worse. I think it's worse than Skyfall. I think they brought back Blofeld as a villain,
Yeah.
uh, and he's a great actor, but I forget his name. Um, shit. What is his name? He was in the Django movie. Anyway, I forget his
Oh,
name, but he
oh,
he plays
yeah.
Blofeld.
The what do you call it? Swedish guy or the German?
Yeah.
Yeah. Here I got it right here. Christopher Waltz.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah.
He was great. He was a great actor, but they made him like James Bond's half brother or something like that. They
Yeah.
made him related to James Bond. And like that, Jesus, how can you take yourself so seriously and do
Yeah.
something like that? It's
Yeah.
so annoying.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's the same thing they did with the Picard show that I hated. Is they're like, they gotta just change history, and it's like, oh, he had a baby with Crusher, and it's like, no, come on, like, don't change it that much, like
Yeah, we didn't even know they had a relationship.
they
It's just, so
hinted
now
at
they
it
have a kid.
kind of, but they didn't even really hint at it that hard. Like, I feel like that was
Yeah,
kind of bullshit. So yeah, whatever.
yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of that either. And the last one, No Time to Die, I only remember because of the bad guy Remy or whatever.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
was in it, and I remember him from the Queen movie. He did such a great job playing Freddie Mercury.
yeah. I
But
never saw that, but I know he played Freddie Mercury. Yeah,
oh, you would like it. It's good. Well, I mean, especially if you like Queen. I love Queen's music, so like to me, it was like you know watching a story
right.
about friends. It was freaking awesome. But same thing with the Elvis movie. You got to check that out. That was pretty
Yeah,
sad.
I haven't seen that either.
Oh, it was really good. But it is what it is. It just a story of people, so it can get pretty sad. But
Yeah,
yeah, I remember No Time to Die. This was all right. I feel like it middle of the pack also. At least it made the middle of the pack for the Daniel Craig movies. It was
well, yeah. For me, I didn't like it at all. In fact, it's my least favorite.
really, yeah,
Yeah,
I thought it was all right, but it wasn't memorable.
to me, it should be called The Perfect Time to Die because he dies in it. Like that to me was so egregious that they killed him off.
Yeah,
And it's like that to me is like Daniel Craig's ego coming through because it's like he wanted to do something that was like never done before, and he wanted to like basically kill the character just because it was his last movie, and I think because he didn't like the character, almost like Han Solo with Harrison Ford. It's like
yeah,
he wanted to
yeah,
kill him because he
yeah.
didn't like
Well,
him.
yeah, and that's it. Kind of shows, like how I felt about Daniel Craig. I'd rather see Henry Cavill or something like that as James Bond. Like
Well, now it does kind of open the door because they could do a total reboot. The continuity in James Bond movies has never been that great anyway, so it's not
that's
like it
what I
matters.
I
But
really wish that they do a total reboot and almost like a piece at a time. You know what I mean? Like, well, I don't know. That might be a stretch because it is such a timepiece to go back and watch the James Bond movies and see the
yeah,
technology that they had. That
hmm
maybe they should just stick with that. But I think it'd be cool if they did it almost like based in like the loose future, but not really like specifying. Like
yeah,
the movie Gattaca. If you've ever seen that,
Right. Yeah,
like
I have
that's
seen
kind
that.
of in
So
the
they could do like
future,
a
but they don't
Moonraker
say,
again.
and they modify cars and stuff to make it look futuristic, and
Right.
like that did it. It did the trick. You know, you didn't really have to do much more than that. But
Yeah. Almost like it could be like instead of Goldeneye, it's like Perfect Dark, you know? Yeah.
exactly, like I feel like that would be cool. You know, if they just went forward a little bit in time to show, you know, like kind of where we could be, you know, rather than where we are right now.
Yeah,
Uh,
well, we're big sci-fi fans, so
yeah, exactly.
that
And
that
that's
that we'll always want to see. If they did a sci-fi James Bond movie, that would be awesome.
yeah.
Nice, nice look.
Yeah, I know. Thank you. So anyway, yeah, we can kind of do a wrap on this and summarize like where would you rank James Bond in your list of like, you know, the top kind of heroes? I would say like you know, he'd be top 10 for me because of you know, his kind of sense of duty. You know, he
Yeah,
always comes through, you know, and he's super brave. He never hesitates to be the one to jump in there, you know.
yeah, he's so iconic. I mean, I love James Bond, but it's almost like part of me feels like I've grown out of him a little bit, you
It's
know?
like Superman to me, you know, like
Yeah,
Superman is such an obvious hero that you know, I kind of am not as big of a fan as I really am because he's my like probably one of the first comics I ever read, you know, and one of the most often comics was Superman, you know.
yeah,
Like Spider-Man's my favorite because I identified so much more with the character. I didn't feel I had anything in common with Clark Kent, you know,
right.
like at all. Like he was
Yeah.
hiding his super ability. I was wishing I had it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
it's the outsider feeling of Kal-El that you really identify with, you know, like,
yeah, and
you
that
know,
one I do identify with, you know. But it's like the Clark Kent character. I can't even relate to it, how he lives. You know, it's like go get yourself a nice dinner, man. You know, like he doesn't do anything really for himself, like guilty pleasures. And I feel like Spider-Man kind of is a little bit more of a human, you know, and does
yeah.
things a little bit
Well,
more.
he's got teenage problems, he's got college kid problems, and he's got, when he grows up, he's got like marriage problems, you know?
Yep. Yeah,
So it's like,
he takes the cake when it comes to having responsibilities, you know, like
yeah,
so. I mean, that's kind of Spider-Man's thing, though, you know, being able
yeah,
to juggle them with all his arms. But James Bond, he basically has the power of like the writer on his side that you know writes him as the ultimate hero all the time. So
yeah,
he's got Captain Kirk syndrome. You know, like Captain Kirk is the same thing. He's not a superhero, but somehow he is. You know, like by
yeah, but at least
his
Kirk has like people around him that help him. James
yeah,
Bond, it almost like does it all on his own, you know?
yeah. All right. Well,
No, nice. The Gorn.
I'll get
There
this
he
down
is.
for a minute. Can you hear me?
Barely. It sounds like you're in a helmet.
Yeah, it's tough to breathe in that thing. I feel bad for the original actor who tried to wear the real one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think James Bond is a pretty great character, and I would like to
Yeah, absolutely.
see some new movies from him. Hopefully, from a younger actor, you know, taking over the
Yeah,
mantle.
I'd like to see them do something different, you know? I
Yeah,
think it's time for them to change things up.
or
And
maybe
like you
go
said,
older.
Henry Cavill would be a great actor
I
too.
think he would be phenomenal for it because he is,
Yeah.
you know, he fits the mold and the look and everything.
And he was in that movie, The Man from Uncle.
That was awesome. I love that.
Yeah, and he was great in that. So I could almost see how he could be a James Bond type character.
I thought that movie was like the most fun spy movie that, or the most James Bond spy movie that I saw that wasn't James Bond. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
like yeah, The Man from Uncle was a lot of fun, and it fell through the cracks, and nobody knows it existed. You know, I tried to recommend it a couple times, and people just didn't watch it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of forgotten about. He was also
Yeah.
a villain in the Mission Impossible movies.
Oh yeah, with the mustache.
The mustache that like disappeared.
Yeah, yeah, that was pretty great. But yeah, so all in all, I like James Bond. In fact, talking about him made me kind of want to watch Moonraker, you know, or
Yeah.
or one of those. Definitely Moonraker, with his watch laser and all that shit. Like,
Yeah.
why don't watches have lasers now? They totally could. So
Well, the watch laser was GoldenEye, wasn't it?
no, in Moonraker, he had the Moonraker laser on his watch. He had like a little. Oh wait, you might
Wasn't
be
it a
right.
magnet? I thought it was a magnet.
You might be right. He did have a super magnet in his watch.
That was in
And
Live and Let
they were
Die, I
about to
think.
launch the rocket, and they were underneath it or whatever. That was so
Well, in
silly.
in Moonraker, they actually had laser guns. They had like,
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm
yeah,
getting confused about, I think.
yeah,
But yeah, I'm hoping that they do one of those again. But
yeah. That would be fun.
yeah, anybody that definitely like to thank the user. What's his name again?
Yeah, Troy Alexander, 8228.
Troy Alexander 8228. Thank you for the suggestion. Yeah, next week we'll do something else. It's kind of up in the air right now, but
Yeah,
probably going to be something nerdy. And
yeah,
yeah, we look forward to doing it. So
yeah. And let us know what you think about James Bond. Where do you rank the actors, or and where how do you feel about the movies? Let us
yeah,
know what your thoughts on it, as always.
yeah. And I'm sorry I didn't rank all the movies. It's just I don't consider myself such an expert. Like I'm a fan of the movies, but
Yeah,
I know you know the movies inside and out. Like
yeah. I didn't put a whole lot of thought into it, and I maybe would even change some stuff now, but now that I'm thinking about it. But who knows? And I
well,
haven't rewatched them in a while, so who knows? I might have a
I
different
think
opinion now.
to reiterate, like my top three would be Moonraker, the George Lazenby one, and Goldfinger. I
Okay,
think
yeah,
even though I like License to Kill, like that should be up top four, top five.
yeah,
But yeah, I think those are my favorite ones, and I really love A View to a Kill too.
yeah.
That probably
Me
be
too.
up there. So yeah, I don't know. So anybody that disagrees or agrees, comment in the
Yeah,
section,
let us
and
know.
follow me on Nuzzy 444 on YouTube because I have like 7 followers right now, and
Yeah, check them out.
my wife will be really excited to hear if I have like 8 followers. So
It'll go up.
it'll go up. I know. All right, buddy. Well, also, we've been doing what do you call it? Saturday night fight nights. We'll probably do
Oh,
Thursday night fights also because we've been playing a little Mortal Kombat.
yeah,
And
Mortal Kombat
anybody
1.
else that plays Mortal Kombat 1, it's cross-platform and we can all join in together. And
Right.
next week we'll have our address for our room. Anybody interested in joining,
Yeah,
you'll
we're
be
gonna
able
try to
to
get it
fight.
on Twitch. Yeah,
Yeah, we'll put it on twitch.tv on our name, and there will be a link in the profile or the whatever you call it. I'm
yeah,
not good at this computer stuff, but yeah, we'll be doing that probably Thursday night at 11 and
yeah.
Saturday night
It's
at
something like that. Yeah.
11. So yeah, that sounds good to me. You got anything else to add, Edwin?
No, nothing much. I got a bit of a Christmas video coming out on Friday, so
Oh yeah.
it'll be a surprise. So check that out. It's
Okay.
Friday at 6 p.m. So get ready.
Oh, all right. I will. All right, Edwin. Well, you take it
All right.
easy. I will
Yep.
see
You
you
too.
this Thursday night, and hopefully we see all of you there too.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
All
All
right,
right.
Edwin. You take
Take
it
it
easy.
easy.
Oh,
Bye
you
bye.
too. Bye bye.